lines already.
Align the blocks.
Just open it up.
So, yeah, well, no, this is the, in Blackboard in assignments, again, you should be there. But, in assignments, if you open up, this, there it is, the template, the Seneca CAD template.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That will open up, except it won't have these lines, because I drew these lines, because I don't wanna draw the whole thing.
Oh, I think you did it.
Okay, so, I'm gonna show you, I'll show the new stuff first. Well, how many people have got a bunch of this done already? So, okay, okay, so, first of all, in this assignment, you're supposed to pick, the A3, ISO A3 sheet, and you're supposed to modify it to an NCB. And then you're supposed to determine what scale fits, okay? But over the week, I found this is just a waste of time. It's sort of a stupid question. So I'm just telling you, it's 1 to 2, okay? Because I can't really demonstrate anything unless I can put it in the correct scale. Because what happens, if you insert blocks at the wrong scale, they insert relative to that scale. So then your blocks are messed up forever. So, especially certain of the blocks that you pull in. Okay, so I'm going to change this to 1 to 250 right away. So I'm going to click on there, on the blocks, and I don't have a 1 to 250, so I'm going to go custom. So this is just changing the scale. I'm going to go custom, and this box comes up. I'll put it up there, and I'm going to say add, and I'm going to give it a name. Again, this is just a name, 1 to 250. Until I change this drawing units to 250, it's nothing more than 1 to 1. So now it's 1 to 250. Okay, so that's how you make new scales, and you'll need to be able to do that. Okay, so now I'm going to set the scale at 1 to 250, and the reason I do that is because I'm going to be putting in, I don't know if it's going to work here, because I started this earlier, but I'm going to go to, so I've drawn these 3 lines, or these are actually 4 lines across here. So I've used bearings to draw all these lines, and I've drawn them all with the north arrow up. Whenever you're drawing property lines, the north arrow has to be pointing up. And we're going to be changing the orientation of this drawing, but if you want to draw or fix any property lines, you have to change it so the north arrow is pointing up. Okay, so I want to put in the north arrow right now. So I'm going to go to views. Again, you'll require this for the test and this assignment. I'm going to go to tool palettes, and this tool palettes is already pre-made blocks. So I'm going to go to annotation tab. I'm not going to do the imperial ones. I'm going to go down to the metric samples, and here's one that says north arrow. I'm going to pick north arrow and pull it and put it in right there. Now that's why I needed to have the scale set, because these things will, once you pull it in, it's in your drawing, it's in the block library, and if you pulled it in at the wrong scale, then it's going to be big or small. You'll have to scale it. Yeah.
Sorry, can you just do that? I think where the tab is.
Yeah. So right over there in the view tab,
Yeah.
tool palettes, and it opens up this. There's many tabs here. I went to the annotation tab, and I went down to the metric samples and put in that north arrow. Okay, so now I'm going to go into this north arrow. You can see this is a dynamic north arrow. And by that, what I mean is I can do things with it. I don't want this there, so I'm going to grab this grip. I'm going to grab this grip to make it go north. I don't want these words here. I'm going to double click on it. This is the same way the title block works. I'm going to get rid of those words by selecting the one plant arrow, and I'll just get rid of the word plant. The geometrical, get rid of the word geometrical. Prevailing wind, get rid of prevailing wind, hit OK, and it's done. Okay? Now this one's still pretty big, so I can scale it anyway. So I'm going to just scale this in half. Okay, so 0.5. Okay, so that's a good north arrow. I'll put it up there. Okay, now this north arrow is annotated. if I go to properties, right click, and go to go to properties, and pull this down. Right here under where it says annotation, annotative, it says yes. And it says the annotative scale, I don't know if I can pull this up any further, it says annotative scale is 1 to 250. So what that means, when something's annotative, watch what happens. Again, this, let's see this. It's such a bad. I'm just trying to pull the screen. Okay. Can you see the bottom right yet? Okay. Right over here, this little 3-leaf clover, this turns things on even if they're at the wrong scale. So you should never actually have this on. I should have made the template with this off, so I'm gonna turn that off. Okay, so that, because if you have that on, things will show visibly even if they're not the right scale. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna change the scale to 1 to 100. And watch what happens to the north arrow, it disappears. Okay, so annotative things will only be visible at the right scale. So if I want it to be visible at 1 to 100, you know, I can go and I'll go back to 1 to 250, so it becomes visible again. I can select this, and what I can do is where it says annotative, and here's 1 to 250, I'll click over there, and I'm gonna click over there, and I'm gonna say add. I'm gonna add 1 to 100. Hit OK. So now this annotative block will be visible at only those 2 scales. Okay, so hit OK, and now I'll close this, and I'm gonna change the scale. I'll change it to 1 to 50 just to show you, it disappears. I'll change it to 1 to 100, and it will appear. But it appears much smaller, right? Because it's at a different scale. I'll change it to 1 to 250, and then it appears bigger. So that's why I wanted to do this all the right scale, because you bringing the blocks at the wrong scale, it really messes them up. Okay, now in the next one here is architectural. Down at the bottom, we have vehicles. So I'll bring in this little car here. And if I click on the car, there's a drop-down menu, and I can see the top of the car. Okay, and that's the way it goes in our plan. Okay, so, and again, if I had done this at the wrong scale, it would have turned out a mess, because once I've done this, if I go to insert, over here, insert, come on, insert. Sorry, wait, insert, there. The north arrow and the car are in my library. So if I change the scale, bring them in, it won't change because they're already there and can't overwrite it. And it's very difficult to delete things from your block library. So again, that's why we want to bring it in the right size. Yeah. No, and then you just take your cursor. Do you have a skip set the 1 to 250? Okay, well just roll your wheel. Because again, you have nothing else. Do you have anything else drawn? Right. So, did you pick the Imperial one or the Measure one? Okay, I'll have to see. But it should be to scale if you know, that's what, again, did you ever bring one in last week or previously? Did you bring one in previously at a different scale? Okay. Because again, if you brought it in at 1, that's what happens. Some people bring these blocks in at 1 to 1, and then it's all messed up when you change it to 2.
Yeah, so if your scale is 1 to 250, you bring in a block with a scale to 1 to 250, then you don't have to change that block.
It depends on the block. This one here, if I select it and go to annotative, it says no. So this one's not annotative, so it's not really gonna be too much of a factor. But again, it's best to have a scale. I don't want to.
So some of the blocks have to have a different scale too.
It's just that they come in at a certain size relative to the scale. Yeah. So I'm gonna pick tree, and this is the other one you have to do, so I just want to get through that. Here's tree, if there's a drop-down menu on it, it's again not annotative, only the north arrow is annotative. I'll click that. I'll go and pick deciduous 2 plan, so that's one of the trees, or else I could change it to a shrub in plan. Okay, so there is a shrub. Okay, so that's, the trees have option to change what they look like. Okay, so that's, these are those blocks. Again, once I bring them in, they are in my library, so I could bring in more trees, but they'll always come in with that, and then I have to change. Okay, so, close that. So let's go over just the line work. Okay, so I'm gonna show again how to change the title block. Okay, so again, watch carefully in this. I'm gonna go to A3, I'm gonna right click on the tab that says A3. I'm gonna go to Page Setup Manager. Okay, I'll do slow. I'm gonna go Modify. When I click on Modify, it says Drawing to PDF, which is what I want. The plot style should say monochrome, just so you should know that. And then over here, the sheet size, it says ISO full bleed A3. I want to change it to ANSI, which is an imperial size, and 11 ANSI full bleed B, which is 11 by 17. So I'm going to go down here again, and I want to use ANSI full bleed B. There's 2 of them. It doesn't matter which one you choose. So I pick ANSI full bleed B. Okay, that's the sheet that you're supposed to work. Hit OK and close. And now here's my sheet, but my title block doesn't fit on it.
What are the scales?
There's no scale when you're in paper space. Okay, so I put this sheet on here, and it's not the size of my title block, and this title block is in fact a block. It's a block with attributes. If I double click on it, actually I'll close it and get a little closer. If I double click on it, it has an attribute list, so I can change things on here. If I say click on submitted to, I can type my name if you're submitting to me, and there my name appears right there. If I pick on scale, I'll go down here and I'll type 1:250, and there's the scale appears right there. So you can type in everything in this dialog box, then hit OK, and it changes. But again, the problem is this block doesn't fit. So what am I going to do? I'm going to move this block out of the way. I'm going to grab the grip and just pull it over to the way for a second. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a viewport. Now, the full bleed puts, the viewport will fill the whole piece of paper. That's the idea of full bleed. So I'm going to make a viewport that covers the full sheet, and I'm just going to use the viewport as a construction line to put a rectangle. Then I'm going to delete it. Okay, so again, this viewport I'm putting in, if I type MV and wait for the V to come up, there it is, enter. Now, one of the options is to enter, and it'll fit the whole sheet. So I'm going to hit enter again, and now I have a viewport right here. It's around the whole sheet. Okay, the reason I did that is so I can snap to a border. You got that at MV, and then enter twice, and then you got it here. So I'm going to go to rectangle. I'm going to snap to this corner and this corner. So again, that's the whole reason I put the viewport in. Now I'm going to offset by 10 millimeters. So I went offset, 10, enter, pick that rectangle, insert it inside, and I have this border. That's what I was shooting for. Now I'm going to select the rectangle and the viewport and delete them. And now I have what I want. So now here's my choices. I'm going to go move, pick this point right here, and put this into this corner. Okay, now here's the choice. I'm gonna put this new border I made onto the layer called G border, and I'm gonna make a copy of it. So here's again my choice. I can go select this block, right click, go into the block editor, and I can delete the border altogether, close it, save the changes, hit OK, that's fine. And now I have a block, it's just my title block. It's no longer a title block with the border. Okay, so that's one thing I could do, which is fine with me. Okay, and when I look at my blocks over here, you'll see the blocks, you know, they all said, you know, title block and border, title block and border. Now this one, the A3 one, is not no longer a title block and border, it's just the title block. But I'm happy with that. Anyway, but say I wanna put the border back on, so I'm gonna select this again, right click, go into the block editor. Remember I copied that border? I'm gonna go paste, and there's that border, and now I'll just move this over here. And now I have a title block with a border. Okay, so I just copied and pasted that. Now I'll close the block editor and see if it changes. And now what I can do is just delete that rectangle. And now this whole thing is a block. Okay, so 2 ways to do it. The point is you have to change the sheet size. Again, MV, enter twice, will give you a viewport that you can snap a rectangle onto. And that rectangle you can offset by 10 to get this inside border. And then you can modify the block, 10 block to get this. Okay, so let's go back to this sheet. Okay, well, let's draw a few property lines and then I'll be able to. Okay, so right here, okay, so I've drawn this over here. I haven't drawn this top line. Okay, this, now in this, guys, listen up. This drawing shows everything in meters, but we have to draw in millimeters. Okay, so we have to multiply everything by 1,000. And again, in each class, say 3 to 4 people will draw everything in meters, and then I have to scale it by 1,000. Okay, so again, I don't know how I can say it differently. This is 84.18 meters, but I'm going to have to type 84,180 millimeters. Okay, so I'm just going to do the 3 property lines, and so we can put it on our view. So I'm going to go to line, pick this, turn off that. Okay, I'm going to type in my length, 84,180. Okay, I did it in millimeters. Shift less than. Now, am I going northwest? I'm going southeast. Okay, you have to change both. So I type south, 88D to what? 68. What I, oh. Okay, 68D, 2 minutes, 38 seconds, and I'm gonna type east. Southeast, enter, there we go. And now, over here, there's no bearing, so all I have to do is snap to this end. Okay, now I have a length over here, it says 1349, is that big enough to see? So I'm just gonna, to establish that length, I'm gonna draw a circle here. 13490, and I'll just trim this like that, and then I'll just attach the 2 points, because I just wanna know. So it's still a straight line, except, and a lot of people did something weird. Oh, I see, a bunch of people did circle from this end and circle from this end and had trouble finding the intersection. Was that you? But that's what I did, is all you have to do. Okay, you're not the only one who did that. Okay, so now I'm gonna draw the middle line here, and this is really an important line, because this line has to be horizontal. So I can go line, snap to that endpoint, and now I'm gonna type in the numbers, 74620, shift less than, and is this going northwest? Yeah, so I'm gonna go north, 68D, 1 minute and 15 seconds, and I'm going west. Enter, and hit escape. Okay, so there's my property lines. There's one more that I should probably try to do. This 9.5 meters goes to the center line, and then when I drew this over, I put the dimension here. I should have put it right on the corner here, because the bearing of the center line of the street is not the same as this bearing. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna do it right now. I'm gonna do offsets, right? Offset 9500, and offset this. And now I'm gonna draw this line. Okay, I'm gonna put in a length of 30,000. Doesn't really matter what the length is. Shift less than, and what's the bearing? It's not going north, right? Oh, can you not see it?
Southwest.
Yeah, it's going south, southwest. Okay. Sure. Pull that over. Yeah. Okay, there you go. So it's going north, it's going to go south 17 degrees, 38 west. Okay, so let's type south, 17D, 38 minutes, 30 seconds, and let's enter, I'll hit escape. Okay, so that's, and I'll get rid of that. Okay, so this is, get that. And now I can put these things in their viewports, in their later if I want. Right now, let's just expand this. Okay, like this here is a center line. Most of the layers are made for you. I'm gonna go C center line. There's the center line. All these things are property lines, so I might as well select them all right now. And I can put them on the layer called C property line. And, you know, so, you know, it's just, okay, so, I have the line weight on, so I'm gonna click over there, turn on the line weight icon, I'm gonna turn off the line weight. Okay, and now I'm gonna go into the viewport. Okay, so let's make a viewport. Type MV, enter, I'm gonna pick this point and this point. And, maybe I'm just gonna change the color just for now, for the property line, you can't see it, see the property line, I'm just gonna change it temporarily to dark blue. Okay, now you can see it. I have to rotate. Okay, I'm gonna turn the screen white, so matching every way. Okay. Okay, so this line here, again, you must do this part or else it's gonna make it nearly impossible for me to correct this. Okay, this line has to be horizontal, and again, this line is not parallel to this, and here there's 4 different lines and none of them are parallel to this, so you have to make this line horizontal. How we do it is these steps, and I've written it out well in the instructions, I believe, but go to the View tab, and I want the coordinates panel. So I'm gonna right click anywhere on this ribbon, say Show Panels, and the coordinates panel is not ticked off. I'm gonna check it off, here's the coordinates panel. I'm gonna select this little arrow beside the word coordinates, and it opens up this dialog box. I wanna check all of these boxes, especially important is the bottom one, because that says update view to plan when the UCS is changed. Okay, and what that means is, here's the UCS, the XY axis. If I rotate this, it pops back. Okay, let's move it up again. If I rotate like this, it always just bounces back. So this is a really good feature, because now I can grab this, snap it to the end of this line. Now I can take the X axis, snap it to here, and this line is now horizontal. Okay, so that's how you do it. So you have to, again, go to coordinates. You have to check, this one, I don't do checks, doesn't matter, but mainly it's this one here that's the most important. Yep, on the side. Okay. And this will work. Now I wanna name it, because when I put in the viewport, I wanna make sure I select the right view. So I'll go to View Manager. I'll say New, and in the instructions I say to type new as, but you can type anything you want, just a name. So I hit OK, OK, and now I have a view named New. So I'll click on New. Go to top view, so if I have to change any property lines, right, I have to be in this view with the north arrow pointing up. But when I go into my viewport, I'm gonna double click in here, I'm gonna go to my views, I'm gonna pick new, it orients it properly, and now I'm gonna check the scale. I want 1 to 250, and surprisingly it fits, you know, so I'll hit the lock button. Some of you lost marks in your assignments by not locking this viewport. And again, so that fits. Okay, so if the line type scale is not what you want, I don't really like it right here, it looks a little too big. You can type LTS, enter. Instead of 1, I can go to 0.5 and tighten these up. Too tight now. Okay, I think actually I should have refreshed the screen and then go back to 1. Yeah, 1 was actually all right. What happened is I didn't refresh my screen, so it didn't. Okay, so let's continue. So I'm gonna go new. I'm going to paper in my model space now, and get to this. Okay, so this is how you do this. It's really simple. You have to draw this line or this line. Now if you draw, because in the instructions, of course, it says the buildings are perfectly square. Now, in real life, it's not that way. So in real life, you would actually find this corner using the offsets from the property line, and because buildings are never really square, you know? But in this case, make it square, and the best way to make something square is to draw one line, offset it, and then if you attach the 2 points, and you've got it square. If I draw this line and this line, I'm not gonna be at 90 degrees, you know, it's very unlikely, unless I have like 5,000 decimal points. Okay, so let's do the first one. So I'm gonna draw this line, okay? So I'm gonna offset by 2, 4, 1. Boom, hold on, let's see. Okay, I'm gonna go offset. From here I'm gonna 2, 4, 1, 0. Remember, I have to multiply everything by 0, so that's a 241 right there. Offset this, I'm gonna offset this one by 152, 1520. 1520. Enter. I'm gonna do a reverse fillet, so I just have that point. Okay, so that's the corner of that building. Now I'm gonna draw this line. So this, I know it's square, so the length is gonna be 6280. So I'm gonna go offset, I'm gonna go circle. I'm gonna pick this corner, I'm gonna type 6280. So that's, somewhere along here is the end of that wall. And it's gonna be offset from this line by 2.39 meters or 2390. So I'll go offset, 2390, enter. Offset this. And now I'm gonna draw a line connecting this point, zoom in real close to this point. Okay, so that's my front line. Okay, now I can get rid of all my construction lines, because that's the point out. Okay, so I have the front line, so now it's really just sort of a piece of cake. I'm gonna go offset by 8920, right? I'm gonna offset this, then I'm gonna offset by 8460, then offset by 4260, and I'll just do that right in the row. So I'll go offset, 8920, I don't know what it's like. Try it, 8920. Okay, the next offset to the next building is 8460, 8460. The next one is 4260. Okay, and just again, if you think a few steps ahead, then it always makes it easier to get these things done quicker. Okay, again, now what I'm saying is snap to the endpoints, and I know I'm at 90 degrees. I'm gonna snap here and snap here, I know that line's at 90 degrees. Now to get this point right here, I'll offset by 1330, 1330. And then I'll snap to the intersection. Lovely, I have the intersection. And remember, this is where you have to have your perpendicular snap on, because I want to hit this line at 90 degrees. So I snap to there, and I can get rid of this. I've got my next line. Okay, now I can just offset to 5500. So that's it, 550. Okay, and then the next one, same deal. It says 1880. So I'll offset 1880. And then once again, use the perpendicular snap. Pick the intersection, make sure you see perpendicular, click, and you've got it. Okay, so now I can just go trim or fill it in whatever. Okay, so I'll stop at this point over here. I just want to show this one here, and then we're going to talk about some other stuff. Okay, so when I look over here, it says 5.19, and over here it says 5.19. So I know that this line is parallel to this line. So that makes that rather easy. So I'm going to go 5190, offset here. Now there's nothing in here saying these lines are in collinear, in line with each other. I have to offset this front property line by 241. 241, offset. 2410, enter. And offset this one. And if I look in real close, in fact, it wasn't, they're not. So I'm going to trim, enter, trim this back, and now I'm going to get rid of this line. Okay, because that line was not, the front of this building is not necessarily parallel to this. In fact, it's not, because here it's 241 and here it's 238. See that? 241, 238. So, but I'm going to go offset. The length of this is 10 0.08, so I'm gonna offset 10.0080, enter. And again, I like to do this way because now if I attach the endpoints, I know it's square. Okay, and the final one I'm gonna do is 678, offset 6780, enter. And I'll just trim that here and trim that here. Now that looks good, but if I zoom way in, I can see that my property line goes past this. Now that's acceptable as long as it's not excessive. If it's excessive, it means you made a mistake, okay? But unless you, like I'm doing meters with 2 decimal points, so it's gonna be hard to not go over that line, okay? But it should be pretty close. Okay, so the next step we need to do is dimensioning. So there's 3 dimension styles I'm gonna show you how to make. So the first one is I don't have pull this off. Okay, I have go this way. I have a dimension style for 1 to 200 and 100, but I don't have one for 250. So I'm gonna select the 200 and I'm gonna go new. So I need to make a dimension style for 250. So I'm gonna go dim 250, okay, say continue. Now there's a few things wrong with this to start with. All of these should say by layer, okay? You should never do anything other than by layer, otherwise everything's fine. I'm gonna go arrows and text, same deal, text, it's fine. Bit, that's the only thing they have to change. Change that to 250. Okay, that's really all you do. And there's something else I have to do, but I don't want to tell you yet. So I'm gonna hit OK and close. And then again, when you're dimensioning 2 property lines, it's always a line. So I'm gonna click on this, pick a line. It will not work aligned and perpendicular. Okay, so again, a line. That's why I'm talking about that perpendicular snap so much. So I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna go up here, that's no good. I wanna make sure it says perpendicular, then I'll snap to this point. Now this is the problem I was trying to warn you about. I'll go over here. Again, sometimes it's hard to snap from here. Make sure you see the perpendicular snap, and then I'll just snap to that. Okay? This should say 2.41. This should say 1.52. So I'm going to go to my dimension style. The one dimension dim 250 that I just made modifier. What I'm going to do is primary units. I'm going to divide that dimension by 1,000. So then instead of 241, they'll say 2.41. Here it is, right over here in primary units, scale factor, I'm gonna change 1 to 0.001. Okay, so that, if you multiply, that's 1 over 1,000. Okay, 1 over 1,000 is 0.001. And also now I have only 1 no decimal point, so I'm gonna add it to 2 decimal points. And finally, right here it says suppress zeros. It says suppress trailing 0. And you can leave that on or not, but I'm gonna not suppress trailing 0, so if it's like 2.40, it'll show the 0, okay? So hit OK, and close, and there it is. Now I've got it in my state. Yep.
When you're making your, like the style,
Yeah.
when you go into media, which one do you start as your
It
favorite?
doesn't really matter. I started at dim 250, but they should all be good.
You can click any one of them and modify it, or like create.
Just let me just see what there is here. So yeah, you could click any one of those.
So you click any one and then you press.
You just change the fit to 250 and that's it. They're all, and again, show you all the layers. Okay, so that's that. And now I want to put a dimension over here. Okay, you see the dimensions of the building is here, so I'm gonna go align, pick this point and this point, snap to the midpoint here. That's really not great. Okay, I'm gonna do it again, snap to the midpoint. Okay, so I want it to have, I can move this dimension just by grabbing the groups. Okay. Just gonna go in here, modify this again. Okay, I'm gonna go modify. What? Okay, right now it's set, these 3 options under the fit command. This one says beside dimension line, this one says the last assignment we did over dimension line with a leader. So I wanna do this one over dimension line without a leader. And I'll show you why once I close this. Because you saw before when I grabbed this text, it was moving the dimension line, now it doesn't, so I can just sort of move my dimension wherever I want. Okay, so, but again, I don't wanna see the arrows, I don't wanna see the dimension lines or anything, so I'm gonna make another dimension style, you can call it floating. So again, here we go. I'm gonna pick dim 250 to start with, I'm gonna go new, and I'm gonna call it, I've called it different things in different classes, but I'll call it dim 250 floating. And here's all I'm gonna do with that, is in lines, and watch the preview window up here. This is the dimension line right here, watch the dimension line, and I'm gonna suppress dimension line 1 and 2. So watch, there's one suppression, there's two suppressions, so now this dimension is just floating between two extension lines. Okay, you can all see that? Now I'm gonna suppress the extension lines. Suppress, now the extension lines are gone. Now the arrowheads would still be there even though they're not showing, so I'm gonna go to symbols and arrows. I'm gonna click on closed and filled, and I'm gonna change it to none. Now the arrowheads are gone, even though I just changed this one, both first and second change. Okay, and I don't have to hit OK, and close, and now I'm just gonna go and, that one's now the active one, see dim 250 floating, when you make one, it becomes active right away. So I'm just gonna go online and just make a dimension, you can see it's just floating. Okay, I'm gonna put it on the right layer. So see annotations, and that way I can just go match properties. Okay, so I'm gonna go match properties, pick this, now I can pick this, and you see the dimension lines and extension lines disappear. Okay, so I won't put it there because these two I want to be on the same layer, but I don't want to, I want to have the arrows. Okay, so this is using dim 250, this is using dim 250 floating. When I want to, yep.
And you can have both dim 250 and dim 250 floating on the same layer.
Yeah.
You just have to switch out the.
Just change the active one.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna leave it on floating because I want to show this one right here. This is a dimension line right here, or a property line. I'm gonna go align. Actually, that's pretty hard for you to see down there, isn't it? Well, it's there. Okay, I'm gonna go align, pick this, and pick this, snap to this point. It says 2134, which is correct. Now I'm gonna double click on it. I'm gonna spread it out. I'm gonna click beside it. And now I'm gonna go N 69. If I wanted to write a degree symbol, it's %D. % D, and you see it turns into a degree symbol, and then 0 to minutes and 38 or 40 seconds, and then it's west. Okay, and then click somewhere else. So it makes it a really easy way to put your lengths and bearings on,
So you just double click.
and then align. Yeah, so and spread it out first.
Double click and then spread and then.
Yeah. Okay, so that's, one way, okay, so there's a few other things I wanna say, okay, the hatching. Okay, while I'm on dimensions, I'll do this. Okay, see this commercial? Now you could just use text style, okay, and, again, we would need to make a text style that's, for 250, so it would be 500 for the regular drawing text. And for the drawing text high, it would be 250 times 2.5. So we'd have to make one for 625. 625. Okay, I'll do that now. So I'm gonna go in here. I'm gonna go to the textiles. I'm gonna make, again, you don't have to start off with one of these, but I will anyway. I'm gonna say for just regular drawing text, I'm gonna go new. I'm gonna say 250 drawing text. And how high should that be? If it's at scale 250, I don't want it to be 2 millimeters. 500. Say 2 times 500, 2 times 250 is 500. Okay, so there's, okay, and now for the text, drawing text high, it's supposed to be 2.5 millimeters. So I have to multiply 2.5 times 250, and that comes out to 625. So I'm gonna just say new 250, drying text high. And hit OK. And I'm gonna change this one to 625. Okay, so I've got the 2-dimensional styles, and again, you will be required to do this on your test, and I will check for it as opposed to if you might have been fudging it on the assignments, I really didn't check. Okay, so now I've got those text styles. So why, the active text style right now is drawing text high, and in the